Oh my god, I did not see that coming. Holy shit. I mean, holy shit, guys. We've got Emrakul in there. So no one saw that coming except everyone on the flippin' internet could see that coming. It is the worst kept secret in Magic history to date. Seriously, that you guys assumed we couldn't figure it out, even though you seriously. Who here on the internet? I mean, I knew some people were hoping it wasn't Emrakul, and maybe thinking maybe Merritt Larrigan, if that was the thing's name, from Cold Snap. From the Cold Snap block, and I was kind of like, I don't want it to be Emrakul by all stretch of the means. 1 second, there we go. Sorry, there was some software update. But yeah, it's Emrakul. So okay, we got Emrakul. Let's just deal with the fact we got Emrakul. So today is essentially technically the first official day of spoilers for Eldritch Moon, but at the same time, it's they only spoiled one card. They had a little bit of they actually had an actual Magic story to go along with the spoiling of Emrakul today, which was a cool story. Detailed Jason Tamio realizing it's Emrakul, detailing a bit of how Emrakul actually functions as an Eldrazi. Emrakul, let's not mince words. Emrakul has always at least been stat-wise the strongest of the Eldrazi. Effect-wise, you can make arguments for and against. But at least in the first 3 cards, Emrakul, none of the other Eldrazi lets you take a turn afterwards. That being said, I mean, like, Ulamog could destroy Emrakul because it was a colorless spell. But then Emrakul would just go back to your deck afterwards because of its secondary ability. So Ulamog technically could take on Emrakul, but not permanently. That's all right. Point remains, though, in terms of overall stats, in terms of overall abilities, things like that, Emrakul is more or less the bombiest of the bombs. An opponent could still work around Ulamog and Kozilek to a degree. Take the Annihilator out of the equation. Emrakul, no. If Emrakul ever hit the field once, unless you had a flying Death Striker or First Striker, or Death Striker, flying Death Touch on the field, you were sunk. You were dead. So now we get this new one. Now, obviously, I have it in the thumbnail, and I have it on the phone here. It did not occur to me until I literally did a test with up to the camera before I started rolling this video that the words and lettering would be reversed. But more or less, it's just the art, and obviously, I'll read off what it says. So here we have Emrakul, the Promised End. 1 second, there we go, the Promised End. And yes, that set symbol, there's a reason they didn't spoil the set symbol for Eldritch Moon. It's Emrakul, no doubt. And I've seen a lot of mixed things about this card so far. Decent amount of meh. And I think we're a little spoiled as Magic players. Now, just look at that. That's some pretty boss art right there. It's coiling around the city. It's got its glowing magenta eye, which, by the way, I did not know that magenta thing was its eye. None of the other Eldrazi actually have eye. Well, no, that's not true. Kozilek has multiple eyes, just not on its head. But none of the other Eldrazi have eyes, basically, so I was not aware that was its eye. But let's take a look at this. So Emrakul, the Promised End, is a 13/13 4/13 color. Well, 13 generic mana of any color. It's still a colorless creature, but it's 13 of any, because we actually now differentiate that. 13 of any generic mana. Now Emrakul, the Promised End, costs 1 less to cast for each card type among cards in your graveyard. We'll get to this other abilities in just a second. That's a unique ability, and it fits in the theme of Innistrad, where the graveyard theme matters. Now, I had to think on it. How many card types do we have? You really count out. We have creatures, we have planeswalkers, we have sorceries, instances, enchantments, artifacts, and lands. If there's and if you're playing Conspiracy Draft, then technically you would have the conspiracy cards as well. But let's say 7. That means, and the best of best case scenarios, this is going to be coming out as a 13/13 flying trample, by the way, with its extra abilities anyway, for 6 mana. Not impossible by any stretch of me, but you've got to have a lot of diversity. You have to have every card type in the deck. it's very unlikely in most scenarios, unless you're designing the deck around Emrakul, that you're going to be able to get out for the 6 mana. And that's the dream scenario. Get out on turn 6 for the 6 mana, or even earlier. You can imagine that. I can't. But the more realistic scenario, and I'm thinking in terms of as a casual player. Granted, as a casual player, I can design decks to, work around that, work for that, or Emrakul and stuff. But as a casual player, as a limited player, as a guy who plays with the pre-releases, you're looking at casting this more for 10 or 9 mana, 8 if you're lucky. But 10 or 9 seems more reasonable. But let's be clear, we were able to hardcast. I mean, I've hardcasted Emrakul, Ulamog, all the big guys before. But again, in casual decks. And the pre-release, it's not going to be easy, but it's definitely not going to be impossible. There is mana acceleration. The pre-release kit is going to have 2 Shadows over Innistrad packs. So any mana acceleration that existed in those sets, as well as any that exists in this current set, will definitely fuel this. Also, it should be noted that Emrakul is number 6 in this, which means we'll probably have a couple more colorless creatures. Right off the bat, I'm kind of done with the I was kind of done with the Eldrazi in Battle for Zendikar Oath of the Gatewatch. And if Emrakul is going to be showing up in this, what they did show at least is that, because Emrakul is the Eldrazi, Ulamog is the one of hunger, ceaseless hunger. He devours things. He's the devourer. Kozilek is the distorter. He distorts reality, gravity, all that. Emrakul is the corruptor. She corrupts anything that she touches, anything she gets. She even corrupts the minds of things. Jace is even, in the storyline, Jace is even having trouble keeping Ulamog out of his head, though Tamio has no problem whatsoever. Emrakul out of his head. So Ulamog, keep doing it. Emrakul is the Eldrazi Titan of corruption, which makes sense when you think of Eldritch horror. She's essentially Cthulhu in Innistrad. And you see in the trailer where a werewolf being corrupted, a horse being corrupted, humans being corrupted. 2 of the angels, Glissa and Bruna, have fused together in this horrifying monstrosity of a being. You can find this art. Actually, you know what? Let me see if I can find it, because I'll look. I know basically the rest of the card text on it anyway. So 1 second. Hey, Anyway, yeah. While I'm getting that up, speculation. Come on, speculate for me, baby. Anyway, so, but that being said, where was it? A card option. You see it all. You saw it all over the original Shadows over Innistrad last block, and now it's coming to fruition in terms of the grotesque, Cthulhu-esque monstrosities we're getting. Then we move on to her second ability. So she's actually the easiest to cast of all the Eldrazi's. There we go. Glissa Bruna hybrid. Yeah, because she will automatically, because if you get her have her in your hand at the beginning of the game, then she's just going to sit there until you want to play her. If you have her in your hand, but if you get her later in the game, then there it is. Hold on, I gotta really get the art on it. Come on. While this thing is doing this, I lost my train of thought because the damn picture won't enlarge. Anyway, that's the picture. That is freaking... Those are 2 angels. 2 of the 3 strongest angels next to Addison on the plane. That's freaking terrifying. Holy crap. Oh, man. And it's going to be awesome. So, yeah, Emrakul is the god of corruption. Very Cthulhu-esque, makes sense. Now, moving on to the second ability. When Emrakul, the Promised End, when you cast it, basically, you take control of target opponent. Stop it. There we go. You take control of target opponent's next turn. I'm going to say that again because it bears being. Take control of target opponent's target players next turn. So if you're like doing a tag team or like a two-headed giant, it doesn't need to really Domino out. Come on. And Domino. Domino, you want me? More meat from the meteors. Toss on the fire. No, we're not going to eat Domino. We love Domino. I'm just going to... Maybe that'll slow you down. Unlikely. So, yeah, you basically... They don't print controlling opponents' turns on cards very often. I have, I think, one card that lets me do it. It was the one from Theros block. I have one card. I might actually have another one too. Yeah, actually no. Technically, I have two actually. No, Emrakul. The first Emrakul didn't control a turn. It skipped a turn, which is even worse in theory. But no, Emrakul essentially lets you control an opponent's turn, and then then after that turn, that player takes an extra. So essentially, they take their turn, but there's a turn where they can't do a damn thing. They are out of it's out of their control. Anything you want to have, if you want them to attack in with their big stuff that you know will die to Emrakul or whatever else you got on the field, do that absolutely. And then it's flying, trample, and then protection from instants. Again, that's another big one. Basically has protection from destruction, more or less. Things like Doomblade or any sort of basically instant damage cards. It has protection from that, which makes the controlling an opponent's turn even more dangerous because you can just leave it. You could make them play all their non-instances. All they have left are instances. Have them just swing in, destroy shit. Have them destroy their own shit with their instances if that's what it does, and or their other shit. Just have them wreak havoc on their field in one turn, and then when their turn comes around, they're stuck with a useless hand against Emrakul. This thing is a beast. This thing is a dangerous, dangerous thing. And why not only wrong, I'll flat out say this is not as good as the original Emrakul. I would actually argue the new Ulamog is better than the new Ulamog. Because the old Ulamog had an Annihilator 1. It could destroy something when it came out into the battlefield. It was indestructible. And if it went to the graveyard, it returned to the deck. The new one has exile 2 permanents when it comes to the battlefield. Indestructible. And when it swings, exile the top 20 card. Basically, mill 20 exile style from the opponent's library. I would argue the new Ulamog is better. I believe it's also less expensive. It's 1 colorless less, or 1 generic mana less than the original Emrakul. And the reason I say that is because the return to the graveyard, or return to the deck, heading to the graveyard, was nullified by the indestructible. If it's exiled, it's not going to go to the graveyard. So the whole return, I mean, it's something that all the Titans shared back then, but the whole return to the deck, it was a nullified ability. So then you take in the Annihilator ability, which was fine. It was Annihilator 1. It wasn't that powerful. I mean, it was useful, but not powerful. And then the destroy one thing, and Indestructible is indestructible. Ulamog automatically, the Ceaseless Hunger automatically took out 2 cards, exiled them, and then continually milled stuff while still being indestructible. And still had the exile weakness. So I would argue that it was better. It is that Ulamog is strictly better. But that's just my opinion. I could go into Kozilek, but I'm not going to. Point being, though, is that this is not as good as the original Emrakul, because Emrakul, the original one, Eon Torn, existed in a format that really did suit it. There was a lot of mono ramp in that one. There was tons of mono ramp. Drowsy spawns, mono production, all of that. Not saying there isn't some in this set, but this clearly is not going to be leaning towards it. And plus, Emrakul is a lot cheaper, and this one's 2 mono cheaper. And, you know, it doesn't have Annihilator 6. The Annihilator 6 alone made the original one better. And protection from color spells. However, I think we've just been too damn spoiled. This is a very solid monster of a card. Now, is it going to be winning Pro Tours and stuff like that? We'll see what happens. Is it? I don't see. I mean, again, comparing. So there's a reason they reprinted the Eldrazi and Modern Masters. Those are more for the Eternal formats, things along those lines, Legacy, whatnot, modern formats. Whereas this new Emrakul is going to be suited for the environment it's in, I think. What I hope for is that we're not going to get just a bunch of other... I think we're not going to get too many Eldrazi, like, colorless creatures. I do think we're going to get some, but they're more or less going to be the spawn lineage of Emrakul, which are corrupted creatures, more or less. And a couple corrupted Eldrazi stuff. It's going to be very Cthulhu-esque. Should be fun. I just hope they don't screw the pooch on this. I talk about the trailer, but there's nothing that was really revealed apart in there that we didn't already know about because of the because if you read the articles beforehand, you knew it was Emrakul. So nothing really got. I mean, yeah, Liliana's there, she's raising an army to fight against Emrakul. That's something that's going to be interesting story-wise. That she's actually raising an army of the undead to fight Emrakul. That's interesting in my mind. That she's willing to take on an Eldrazi Titan. She must think she's one bad bitch, because that takes some balls. But we'll see what happens. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. I haven't figured out which of my Who Would Wins I'll be doing this week. But when I do, I will get to that. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you folks next time.